Hi guys, and welcome back. Today we are going to discuss Pagan Prayer. Different things you can do. Hey guys, and welcome back. As I told you, we are going to be talking about Pagan Prayer today. We're going to be discussing things like, what's the best time to pray? Daytime, nighttime, evenings, in between. With certain deities, should you not pray during the day? Should you pray at night? Different trigger objects, different things that you can use to get the mindset, and different things that you can give before your actual prayer. So we're going to go ahead and get started into this. I do want to say one thing though. I'm still sick. I'm still trying to get over this cold. So if you see a lot of pausing and I'm not in the same position, this is why. I have to take moments for myself. So please bear with me. But let's go ahead and let's dive in to Pagan Prayer. So the first thing that I want to talk about is trigger objects. Trigger objects can be used depending on the size of the trigger object. It would depend on if you can do it while you're out and about or not. Now there is quite some controversy whether or not you need a trigger object or you don't. Me personally, I see it as you don't need it, but if you're having trouble getting into that mindset of prayer, it does help to have something to hold and to, look at as you're doing it. Now, some people will have little trinkets of their gods, goddesses, spirits, deities, whatever it is that they are working with. And some people will just have like different objects. For anybody who follows Hecate, one of the main things to have is keys. Now, this is my key set that you guys probably seen in the chanting video that I got a long time ago, and I can't remember even now where I bought it. But this is something that I use as a trigger object when I'm here at my house or before a ritual to bring that Hecate energy, to bring that doorway open. So things like this, if you have like a small little house key or you have like a little key pendant, these would be things that you could hold, you could actually rub or massage while you're doing your prayer. So that's kind of why I say, trigger objects are things. You don't have to have them on a mass scale. You can have them on a smaller scale. It's just what is perfect for you, the environment you're in, and if it's a safe place to actually do so. So just kind of keep that in mind. You don't have to have anything as far as objects. This is just things that I prefer to use when I'm either at home in a ritual or out and about. Just like easy little objects that I can have to really focus that intent of that prayer to that deity or spirit that I'm working with. So, what kind of objects would I suggest for people? Well, first off, you guys heard me talk about Hecate with the keys. So keys with Hecate is something that I would definitely suggest as a trigger object or an object to hold or to have with you. Just for the reason being, keys symbolize a lot of things. They symbolize new beginnings. They symbolize her herself. They symbolize, closing one chapter of one's life and beginning another one. So having that around, no matter if it's in your car, your purse, whatever it may be, is always a good reminder, you know what I mean? Like, there's one that I just made that I'm going to end up putting in my car. And whenever I go on a travel, I'm going to hold that key, say my little prayer for safe travels for when I'm on the road as an extra protection for me and my family. Now, other objects that you could do, depending if you're working with an entity, a spirit, or maybe a loved one, like an ancestor, or maybe you're just working with a deity that is shrouded by death. Now, this right here is plastic. Do you hear it? That is plastic. I got this for like $1, I think, at the dollar store. The reason I got this is because, one, I found a really cool tutorial you can do candle making with, where you actually cut right through here. And then at the base, you put your wick, and then you can fill it up, and you tape it, and you put your candle wax in. And then you get a perfect, cool little mold. So I'm going to be doing that eventually, some time closer to you know, Sam Hain and stuff like that, maybe a couple weeks before, so you guys can set up some stuff like this for like ancestors or spirits that you want to work with, or you just like the aesthetic and you want to use it. So it's pretty cool. So when I'm working with any kind of spirit or death spirit, I like to have a skull situated or around me. Now, if you're not working with a human entity and you're working with an animal, you know, if you don't want to have animal bones because it's not in your code of ethics, you can always 3D print. You can always get the fake skulls. You can get the little plastic guys. Like, there's so many different skulls and bones and stuff that they have now. You don't necessarily have to have something that's actual from that animal or from a person, you know what I mean? It's the symbolization that is what is key here. So when I'm working with a spirit, let's say if I'm working with my mom, right? And I'm wanting to do a prayer, I would either hold this or have it in front of me. I'm trying to do this to where, okay, let's do it like this. Have it in front of me, and I'd be like, Mom, I miss you, you know, this is what's going on, and so forth and so on, right? And then this would be the object that I would hold. Or if I'm wanting to do some trance work. So if I want to do trance work with this skull, and I'm wanting to work with a certain spirit, how could I do this? Well, first off, it's plastic. So the easiest thing that you could do is you put little symbols with either marker, or you could take glue, which to me, I think the glue process is a little bit hard, just for the reason you get the strings and sometimes the glue doesn't do right. But you could do glue and put little glitter and stuff like that and whatever. But me personally, I prefer to do marker. Since I'm not using that for this, I haven't done anything to it. So you could put whatever you want. You could also put crystals of some sort to use it like a scrying skull, where you would actually look into the eyes of the actual skull itself and use that as a form of divination, which is real fun to do. I might even show a tutorial if you guys want me to, and we can do that. You can also even use like the crystal skulls. That's another thing. If you can find like crystal skulls, crystal bones, stuff like that, you can also use those in place of, you know, having that trigger object with you. Now I'm going to go through some other trigger objects that I do have as well. This one would probably be a universal, I would assume. Just for the reason being, it's an instrument. It's a little drum. And you can use this. It'll help set your mindset. It'll help set a tone or a rhythm of your heartbeat or what's going on, you know what I mean? And kind of help get, you know, that energy outward in your prayer. And, you know, you can be like, Hecate, today has just been one of those days. Like, I need guidance. You know what I mean? Like, it's whatever would work for you. Okay? Now, this one, I know you guys have seen it when I did my horn video. The horn to Hades that I actually had made. Now, this is a big Mima right here. And I do love it. And it's very pretty. As you guys can see. A lot of good detail. That's the only thing that I don't like about it. I need to add a wreath to that. So, that's my thing. But, like, if I was going to start a prayer to Hades, right? And I wanted a trigger object to start. I could actually use this as blowing the horn to symbolize, hey, I'm about to begin my prayer to Hades. Same thing with, like, with Hecate. You could shake the keys as a symbol, like you're about to start your prayer. It just depends on what you want to do. Now, I know, I think I've shown it before. It's like a little prayer bead necklace. I did actually make one for Hecate. And I think I've showed it at least here once. If not, I can do a tutorial and all that on how you do it. You know, you just find the right crystal associated with the deity or the spirit that you're working with. Different things that symbolize them you can add to it too. As well, as far as numbers, there's a lot of differential as far as how many beads you should add. And I personally think it's up to you and your preference. But you do want something that is going to be beaded enough to where you could actually do your prayers. Now, another thing that I use that I recently just got at Dayton Pagan Pride is this beautiful little rain stick. Now, this for me has multiple purposes. One, it can symbolize, okay, it's about time for prayer. And, you know, once the last beat hits, that's when my prayer begins. You can also use this in, like I said, ritual, stuff like that. You can use it in weather magic. It just depends on what you want to use. But like as a starter trigger object to kind of get your mind in that space, and you know, as it trickles down, so does your thoughts. You know what I mean? So that way you can be clear and concise in your prayers. So these are a few of the trigger objects that I have. And I'm going to go ahead and move some of these real quick. That way I can get into the next thing that I want to talk about. Oh, snap. Alright, so the next thing that you mostly see when you're dealing with prayers is, you know, incense. You either get some kind of smell or some kind of incense, whether it be stick or whether it be cone. Now, me personally, I have a variety. I have a crap ton, as you guys can see, of different incense. Now, do I use these incense all the time? No, because I am prone to allergies really bad, so I kind of have to watch out which ones I use, because it really gets me flared up, or it makes it to where I can't breathe, and that's never good. So, if you're like me and you have that issue when it comes to incense, you can always do the other alternative, which is oil diffusion. Now, one of the things that I would suggest using is frankincense. You can also mix in some myrrh. You can mix in other things too as well, and kind of get that scent going in the air and kind of, you know, permeating your space before you actually start prayer. So that way, you know, as they say, the senses fuel the mind. So as you're smelling that, that's helping getting yourself into a headspace. So, you know, like I said, with these objects, they're all trigger objects for you to trigger that response, to get you relaxed, to get you focused, to make it a little bit more easier for you if you want to go to a little bit of a complex thing. Or, you know, as we go on, we'll talk about the basics. So, like I said, you know, incense, oils, cones, diffusers, whatever it is that you're wanting to use to set up your space to have it smell good. Matter of fact, if you don't even want to do that, like right here, I've got a candle. Now, I did bless this candle. I bless all my candles that come in here, even if it is something as simple as like a smell good candle just for the house. Just for the reason being, like, if there's any negative energy, or I want to clear stuff out and, you know, kind of add relaxation. Now, the scent for this is called Butter Pumpkin. It's not bad. There is a pumpkin chai candle I got in my room. That's the bomb. And it is made by Perfect Harvest, which is like a dollar store brand. So, that's my thing. Now, when we talk about sounds and things like that, one of the most common things that you'll see is a bell. Okay? You'll see people do bells before rituals, or they'll incorporate them in rituals. If you go through a store, some of the old-timey stores have that bell. It's like, hey, someone's here, or the energy just came in. You know what I mean? So, like, let's say you're getting ready to do your prayer, and you want that symbolism. You just want it to be simple and easy. You could use a bell. 1, 2, 3. You could even do more, you can do less. It just depends on you and your personal practice when it comes to that. Now, when we also talk about sounds, you know, there's always the thing like, what's your witchy playlist? Or what do you play during rituals? Or what do you play during, you know, prayers? Or things that you're doing with Hades or Hecate. And for me, music and sounds themselves are one of those things to where it depends on the day and it depends on the mood. Like, am I going to sit there and set up music every time? No. Am I going to sit there and play my drum every time? No. Because there's just some days where you're like, my head's killing me, I don't want sound, and there's some days you want to bring it in. And when we talk about music and the sound of music and different vibrations, like you can use like drums, you can use singing bowls, like the sky's the limit when it comes to what sounds you incorporate. You can even do soothing sounds like oceans or thunderstorms or whatever it is that you want to set up within your ritual. But realistically, you're not going to be able to do it all the time. There's just going to be days where you're like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? So when it comes to sounds, what I always suggest is this: do what feels right for you in the moment. So if you are wanting some music, and let's say you have a certain genre, let's say you go to YouTube, right? You're already here anyway, watching me. Thank you. Blah. But let's say you go to YouTube and you're like, I need some like dark piano music. Instead of just like scrolling and picking which one you want, let the faith decide. Go the fast scroll, you know what I mean? Where you see like 3, 10, whatever many videos pop through, and you just press one. And then which one it is, that's the one you listen to and you have with you. Because at that moment, it's not really your choice, it's the universe's choice helping you out. So, hopefully that helps out, like, when it comes to sounds and things like that. I know some people, they like organ music or, like, violin music. I actually really like, or dark piano music when I'm working with certain spirits and entities. It's not really a song. I do have songs I like to play, but realistically, it's more of, just the tunes of the songs, not, like, words and stuff like that. So when it comes to your own playlist, make whatever feels comfortable for you, but don't feel like you have to play the same thing over and over and over again, because you're never going to be in the same mood every time, you know what I mean? So the next thing that I want to talk about when we're talking about trigger objects as well, which I got them here in a bag because I believe these were actually gifted to me, is runes. Now these right here, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but these are actually stones that were carved into. They're very flat. Now, if you look in other religions, things like this would be considered a prayer stone, okay? And the great thing about runes is each one has its own symbolism, its own meaning, right? So let's say you pick whichever one you want for the day, which I picked this one. As far as runes go and learning all the runes, I'm still learning myself, so whichever this means is what, I'm going to be focusing on for that day. So I would have it with me throughout the day. And by the act of rubbing it, that's bringing in, that information, that knowledge. And it's the acknowledge of prayer. So like, when we talk about Odin and we talk about how he got, the runes gifted to him, this would be a great way as a trigger object out and about to have that prayer with him throughout the day on what you need brought to you. You know what I mean? To me, that's at least how I see it. Now, there's some other things you can do. This is more if like you're in a ritual setting or if you're at home and you have some time, or maybe you have like a little ritual kit on the go. So when we talk about different objects, another thing that we can have as well is different herbs. Now this is just one of my bundles of herbs, different flowers and things that I've got. Some of these I've actually used in spell candles as well. But you're probably wondering, okay, well, what do I do with this? So let's say you're in prayer, right? And if you have like one of those charcoal blocks that you can get where you can actually burn stuff on, whether it be powdered incense, which is another thing you can use for scents and things like that, or just as an offering, as a thank you, you can use herbs and let them herbs actually burn up as an offering, and then you get the smell of that as you're saying your prayers to your deity. Now, one of the most common things that you'll see is candles. So if you're doing like a daily devotional prayer, whether it be in the morning or at night, you can also use candles as a way to say thank you throughout the day. You light it, and once you light that candle, I would be cautious of the runtime of your candles, because if you do it like I do, then you're there till that candle ends. So just fair warning. Now, if you want something simple and small, what I suggest doing is, and it's not going to be a long prayer that night, is go ahead and get you some birthday candles, okay? Take them birthday candles, prop it up, put it in something, whatever. Or you can even get like a little cupcake and use it as an offering / prayer candle. 2-in-1 special. So you would light it, you would say your prayer, Then as you say, get done with your prayer, you just sit there and you reflect and you meditate on it and see what signs, symbols, and things come to you. You know, when it comes to prayer, most people think, okay, I need to make a prayer, I need to say what I need, and I need it now. Like someone pick up on the other end, do you hear me? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like that. How I personally see prayer, it's not like that. You know, especially when we're asking for things, or we're asking for guidance, or a physical item, or a material item, or a spiritual item that we feel like we need to acquire. You know, when we ask for these things, we expect it to be like, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, let's get done with it, right? But it doesn't work like that. Sometimes it takes contemplation. And that contemplation could be days of contemplating over a prayer you did last week. You know what I mean? Or contemplating as you're doing your prayer and you're just letting it come through. Now, as I say this, there is one more object that I do want to talk about as far as things that you can use as offerings whenever you do a prayer. Do you always have to have offerings in a prayer? No. Is it nice? Yes. It's like being with a friend, you know what I mean? Eventually, if they listen to you whine and complain all the time, eventually they're just like, oh, you're dragging me down. But, you know, sometimes an offering is like a boost of like, hey, thank you for being there for me. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for, you know, being the one to kind of help guide me. Here's some pretty stones, okay? So, when we come to crystals and stones with prayer, we all know crystals and stones have their own metaphysical properties, their own magical things that they're associated with. So you can also pick, you know, whichever stone it is that you're using for whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, or maybe you're worrying or anxiety, whatever it may be. You can still use these stones. So, you get your stone, whatever kind you want. You can carry it around with you throughout the day. You can say little prayers into it. And that's with any object. That's another thing you can do too. If, like, let's say throughout the day, you know, this is your number one go-to. And this is the one that you use all the time. You can carry that with you. And when you have those moments of doubt, you can say those little prayers, right? And be like, hey, you know, today, blah, blah, blah. Or just say it in your head as you're rubbing the stone, so you don't look crazy in those weird, awkward situations. Then at the end of the night, take that stone, put it onto your altar, okay? Because you got to remember, all crystals hold some kind of memory. They're like little databases, okay? So you now put this on your altar or your workspace, wherever it's at. So now that information is being transmitted. And then so forth, so on. So it's like different ways of doing prayer. Now, I told you guys all the different things that you can do, different trigger objects and things like that. So let's get into some of the questions that you guys actually have. So the first question was, you know, with Hecate, can I pray to her during the day? Now, when we think of Hecate and herself, we think of, you know, the mother, the maiden, the crone, the three crossroads, the three aspects. You know, she's got the underworld, the sea, and she's got the sky. So if we take all those aspects and the different aspects that she's had throughout time in different pantheons, she's not only been associated with darkness, even though that's what most people associate her with. She has her light and she has her neutral. So as far as times of prayer, you can always pray to your deity. Now, whether or not they listen or they accept it, that's up to them. I can't control whether or not they want to listen to you rant about some guy from like 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, realistically, I think that's anybody. But what I will say is I don't believe that when we talk about prayer in the sense of day and night, that it is the same as it is in our realm, if that makes sense. I believe that the gods are on their own realm, but have the ability to cross over into this realm to interact with us and to help guide us in whatever it is that we need to do. So, to me, when we talk about, the difference between day or night, we're talking about it in a sense in our plane of existence, not their plane of existence. So if we're talking about, imagine it's like a zoo, okay? And each part of the zoo has its own habitat based around the animal that is in that exhibit. So imagine that the deities have this existence or this ecosystem or this environment that is catered to them and how they are. So they're in this environment all the time. It doesn't change. But down here, our environment changes day and night, day and night, day and night. You know what I mean? Like, it's ever changing as time goes. But here, it's the same. So what we do down here, no matter the time frame and what we're doing it, is still going to meet up here, because we're on this level and they're on this level. Because when we think of gods or goddesses or the universal energy, we always think of it in a higher frequency. Then we got our demons and all that other stuff that we think in a lower frequency. But us, as people, we're in the medium, the Midgard, so to speak. We're in between those realms of light and dark. We are the in-between. So, with that being said, does time affect? I don't personally think so. But I do say this. Let's say you feel more comfortable praying at night than you do during the day. Or let's say you like to do 5 mini prayer sessions of like a minute or less throughout the day. That's you and your personal practice. And one of the main reasons I say no two witches, witch alike. Because that's the thing about witchcraft. It is not a system that is set like, okay, you got to do it on this date, this time, blah, 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 blah. It is customized to your beliefs, your environment, and yourself. You can have a lot of people that have difference of opinion and have different philosophies, but be talking about the same thing. That's why I tell you guys, always make sure to make it customizable for you. So if you prefer a certain time of day, or you prefer not to pray on a certain day because it's seen as this is the day of rest for a deity or a spirit, then on that day, hey, I'm not going to be praying on that day. Or I choose not to pray on that day. Or I only pray to my gods on this day, and it's like a confessional of like 2 to 3 hours. That's up to you. Now, I know someone's going to ask this question, so I'm going to put it out there. Do you need to do any casting of a circle when you pray? No, you do not. Now, can you surround yourself in a pure white light or a neutral light or whatever color light that you wish to surround yourself? Yes, of course. That's what we do anyway. We do it to protect ourselves. So, just because we, have a focus point and we put that focus point in our prayers, it doesn't mean that anything on the outside of our spectrum isn't lurking to listen to those prayers. That's why I always suggest having something like a trigger object, so that way you actually connect with who you're wanting to connect with. Now, there's also going to be questions about, should I pray out loud? Should I pray inside my mind? I see it like this. There's going to be moments and times where your energy is going to be so sporadic that is not even going to be a question. So, like, for instance, let's say in times of turmoil or death, most people don't sit there and think, do I pray to myself or do I pray out loud? You're on your knees, you're crying, and you're shouting like you don't care. Gauge how you pray on your emotions that day. If you want to pray on the inside, pray on the inside. If you want to pray on the outside, pray on the outside. It all depends on you and how you feel in your practice and what's right. So no one can tell you how you can pray. All we can do is guide you in the right way. That's all we can do. And that's all I can do. Is say, hey, this is what I do. Here's what I got. Here's some suggestions. Go ahead and pray. Now, you can actually get these really long, thin prayer candles. I think they last for like maybe an hour or less. Normally they're used in Catholicism, I believe. But you can also get like a huge big pack of them for like 30-40 bucks. You can use them for your prayers as well. Now, as far as like hand positions, body positions, some people like to pray like they're like head down towards whatever, the floor, the mat, the pillow, and do their prayers. Some like to be in a meditation state and do their prayers. Some like to be, laid back in the darkness and just head on the pillow and saying their prayers and the things they're thankful for and the things that they wish they could have done better or could have understood more. So these are the things that, I think will be asked, have been asked, and, different things to help you guys on your journey when it comes to prayer. Even if you're praying to like a certain, spirit, or you're praying to your ancestors, or to someone that you met on your astral journey to relay a message, whatever it may be. All these things can be used as long as, they have a meaning for that entity. So, you can get little animals, like little animal statues. I know you guys have seen the one that I had, the obsidian bunny. You can get all different kinds of different things like that. You can even write your prayers on paper if you want to and burn them, and then use those ashes to formulate what you're wanting as, let's say, if I'm making a prayer, like I need more understanding, can you please help guide me? You can take that prayer, burn that prayer, add that prayer to some salt, make sure to label it, because we never remember like we say we're going to remember, and put that away. Because whenever you're getting to that point where you're in the same situation, you've already made that prayer, you've got a prayer salt, and now you can use it within a ritual or a spell that you plan to use in the future, or to do it during that time. These are the things that I would suggest. These are the things that I think will help you guys. If you have any further questions, you can email me. My information's down below, or you can just send me a comment and I'll get right back to you guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. Thank you guys for hanging in there with me during my week and a half of being sick and still being sick and still trying to get over it. I really do appreciate it. And if you would, take some time, like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And always remember, no two witches, witch alike.